Hiya, I'm going to attempt to explain the exists operator to you now. So the exists operator only works with subqueries. You only use it with subqueries. And the first point I want to make actually is that it made a lot more sense to me when someone explained it as a function. So I think of it as a function now. The exists function, it takes, in brackets here, it takes just one argument, one parameter, and that argument is a query. Okay, so our subquery, our inner query. And the exists function, as I'm going to call it now, returns either true or false. It returns a true if this query that's been passed into it gives any results at all. And it returns a false if this query, which has been passed into it, returns an empty set, so there aren't any results from it. Okay? And then, if it's true, it will then add a row to the result set of the outer query. And if it's false, it won't add a row. So, let's have a look. I genuinely have found this really, really hard to understand. I couldn't find an explanation that I felt made it clear to me. And my explanation here, I hope it helps a bit. There are examples in Appendix 10 in the course spec. Honestly, I find them bewildering. They made no sense to me. There are videos all over the web. There are explanations everywhere. Let's see if this helps. So I'm using my my previous example database, the one with suppliers and so on. So I'll just remind you of what that is in case you watched it like last week or something. So we've got suppliers, and we've got products which are supplied by those suppliers. Cornballer supplied by Acme Corporation and so on. And then we've got, actually I don't think the order details come into these examples at all, but we've got a table of order details. Product 2, the Mr. Fusion Home Energy Reactor, an order for one of those. An order for 1 disintegrating pistol. An order for 10 Slurm 2-litre bottles, and so on. Now, I'm going to attempt to demonstrate how this works. You might notice something slightly strange here. You might. And it's this bit here. This inner query doesn't have the suppliers table mentioned. That's because it's getting values from the suppliers table from the outer query. Kind of what, maybe think of it as what's been passed into this as well. So if you try to run this query on its own, this little bit, it's not going to work because it's trying to get something from the suppliers table, and we haven't got that in the suppliers in the from clause. Excuse me. So it doesn't know what the hell this is because it's only looking at the products table. So that's the first slightly odd thing about this. Now, I'm going to scroll down a bit, and I'm going to take in fact, I'm going to delete this and bring up a slight variation on this inner query. So this is my inner query, the subquery. Now, you can see I've changed it in one way. I've replaced this bit with an actual supplier ID. The supplier IDs, you might remember, go from 1 to 4 in my small data set. So I picked the first one here. Other than that, it's the exact same as this one up here. But now we don't have that problem. We're not going to get an issue with the fact that we're only using the products table. Now I'm just going to run this. So what's this going to do? It's going to look at the products table. It's going to find any rows where the supplier ID is 1 and the price is less than 20. Okay, it's a Nat5 level query. So let's just have a look at this. So from the products table, supplier ID 1 and price less than 20. So there's one supplier ID 1, but the price is not less than 20. There's another one, price not less than 20, and another one, price not less than 20. So I'm expecting from this an empty result set. Yeah, nice. Now, here's a weird little thing. Again, every explanation I've seen of this makes a big deal about this. The fact that it doesn't matter what rows you select. What columns you select, what fields you select. So they make a big thing about you can put in anything there, and loads of them I see just putting in a number there. They like to put in 1, just because. So every row it finds, it's not going to return data, it's just going to return 1. Again, that's going to make no difference here if I paste that in, because it's an empty result set anyway. But you just, it seems to be it's of no benefit to you whatsoever. I think standard would be just to include the asterisk. So anyway, what actually happens here is the outer query is looking at the suppliers table, and then it's going to work through each row of the suppliers table, and in here it's effectively working through each supplier ID. So it's going to chuck in supplier ID 1 from the suppliers table, which has been used in this outer query, and then it's going to try supplier ID 2 and 3. For some reason I liken it in my head to sort of traversing an array, working through an array. Don't know, probably shouldn't, that's probably confusing, but it makes me think of that. So it's basically going to look at 1, and then it's going to look at supplier ID 2, and then it's going to look at supplier ID 3, and then 4. Okay, that's what's going to go on here. So that first one, empty result set, so the exists function returns false. So skips past that row of the suppliers table onto the next row, which is for supplier ID 2. So let's just check what that gives us. Empty result set again, so we get false, so it skips, so there's still no result set to the outer query either. Next, onto supplier ID 3, and still looking at less than 20. And this one's giving us some results. So we don't even care what the results are. Okay, I don't care what they are, it's just the fact that they exist, that there are results there. So that returns, that one, effectively a 3 in there, that returns true. The exists function, as I'm going to call it, returns true, which means the row we're on of the suppliers table is part of the result set. Okay, and then here we go, supplier ID 4, and it returns a result as well. So that returns true, the exists function returns true, and that row gets added to the result set. And then select supplier name from the rows that have been returned, and that's what gets returned. So let's just check. Whoops, not what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Here's the full query, and it gives us these two supplier names, Soylent and Umbrella. Let's just check that they're what we're expecting. If you don't believe me, what have we got? Name of any supplier who supplies a product costs less than £20, right? So let's look at the products less than £20 are this one, supplier 3, this one, supplier 4, this one, supplier 3, and this one's supplier 3. So it's only suppliers 3 and 4 who are Soylent Corp, an umbrella corporation. I thank you. Thank you. Now, just to prove this point, by the way, let's see, supplier 3 had a few in there, didn't it? This is the sort of thing you see where they say select one. I don't know. It seems to me people just... I really do. I can't work out why anyone would choose to do that, but that's what you get. So instead of getting these results, which you get with the asterisk, you get these results. But it doesn't matter because it's some results. They exist, so the exist function returns true. Okay, I hope that makes a bit of sense. I feel like I've got some more stuff in here, so let's just see what I've got. Oh yeah. So this example, by the way, I just nicked the basic example. I had to make up an actual data set, but I nicked the basic example from W3 Schools or somewhere. So it's quite a simple one. So just, you might be thinking, why are we even using exists? Well, the reason we're using it is because for advanced hire, you got to learn it. And it's just another tool available to you sometimes. That's all these are, tools in SQL that are available to you. And in the advanced hire exam, you'll get questions that say, write this query using exists. Write this query using any. So you have to have an understanding of it. Anyway, this one, it can of course just be done with a simple kind of higher level query here, which again you may not believe, though why you wouldn't have clearly checked this. That's what we get. And the other big thing that everyone seems to enjoy is the fact that there's not only an exists function. I think of this as, rather than not, because not you would normally use in this way, you'd normally stick brackets round, and you don't hear. I think of this as another function, the not exists function, but it just negates exists. So everything that returns true will return false. Well, it won't return false. Everything that returns true will be negated to false, and vice versa. False becomes true. Depends how you like to think of it. So this should give us the other suppliers. Okay, but not exists, it'll come up at advanced hire. So we get the first two there. Okay, I hope that makes a bit of sense. I think once you work through a few examples, it might become a bit clearer. And stick with it and play about with this dataset. I've included these queries in the stuff for any. So download it from Firefly. Okay, hope that all helps. See ya.